Hello and welcome back to After the Table, a TTRPG podcast. 'Tis I, your favorite drag queen turned GM and occasional person that likes to do cosplays, Shelly Von Miller here. And speaking of cosplaying, this person that we have on the podcast today has some of my favorite, to include Laudna and Dame Aylin. They are amazing cosplays. You might know them from actual play performances across the community. And the DM of Thots and Players, welcome to the table, Gillian Foxglove. Hi there.
Thank you. So sweet.
Yeah. No, I will tell you this right now. I love the Dame Aylin cosplay. Anytime I see a Dame Aylin cosplay, I'm just like, yes.
It was
please.
great. I saw another Dame Aylin at Katsukon, and I had to, run up to her, and I was like, hello! Oh my god! You look amazing! And then she realized who I was, and was like, wait, I love your Dame Aylin! And it was really cute. It was very cute. But, yeah, that cosplay was about 500, 600 hours, somewhere around there. I lose count after usually 400.
Feel like it's great to know on the backhand when people ask, and it's for cosplay competitions probably.
Yeah, that's the habit. You clocked it immediately. If you know the actual numbers it takes, it's really good for competition. Speaking as someone who's both competed, won, and judged.
You're like, yes, it's great. But yeah, it's one of those things that's like, I don't know. It's the same with drag and burlesque with stoning. You're like, I don't know how many stones I put on this thing.
I've definitely done some bedazzling in my day. So.
Oh, I have so much to do. Oh, I don't want to do it. And I have, I don't know if you have it with cosplaying, but I have before put on stone regret. It's like one of those things. It's like, I don't want to. As soon as I put this on, there's no turning back. I can't just make it go away.
In the cosplay world, we call it repeat till cry. Because that's what it is repeat till cry.
You're like, okay, all right, cool.
It's do this small task 1,800 times until it is done. Reminds me of putting all the leaves on my Kiki cape.
Oh my goodness.
Because there was 3,000, I think.
Good lord.
Something like that. Can't remember the numbers off the top of my head. It might be less. Might be at 2,000. But it's some thousand.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Speaking of cosplay, what is your kind of I want to do this, I just don't have the time or the energy or the money to do it at this time?
The list is very long of things I want to do but have no time for. At this point, because I am a professional cosplayer, I have the fortune, I'm very fortunate to not have to worry so much about money because my job does fund my own cosplays and it feeds into itself. So while they're expensive and I try not to do too many big builds, I can usually do at least one to two a year, which is nice. For a long time, my most wanted cosplay was Queen Amidala, because when I was 8, before I even knew what cosplay was, I was like, why do I want to be that? I want to be that. I want to go to there, while watching Star Wars. And then, later I would find cosplay and eventually finally made that costume. But since then, I haven't really had a dream costume in the same way that Dame Aylin was, because I wanted to do her for a decade and a year, I think, technically. And so, I haven't really had the time since to really long for a costume. However, there are definitely some that stick out. I've been wanting to do a Big Sister cosplay from BioShock, and they're putting out the BioShock TV show pretty soon, so I'm considering maybe finally doing that. The other really big one that is going to happen at some point, I would say the biggest one, is Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn. I always have wanted to cosplay her. She is so cool, and I love those games. I've played all of them. And she's a redhead, so, after my heart. However, every time a game has come out, I have been in the middle of a different build. And I want to time it with a release of a game, but with with Lance Reddick passing, who plays Silas in the games, I don't know if it's gonna be like, you know what I mean, if it's gonna take longer because they're gonna have to figure out what to do with Silas or recast or something, which is, Lance Reddick, rest in peace. But yeah, that's probably the biggest one. Those are the two that I can think of off the top of my head.
On a tangent, like, similar note, you also do LARPing?
Yes, I do.
Like, how did you get into that?
So,
I guess what came first, LARPing, cosplay, or TTRPGs?
D&D was surprisingly... Oh my goodness, my dog just growled in his sleep.
Oh,
puppy. D&D was right before that, and I just obviously started doing D&D stuff online about 2 years ago-ish, 1.5, 2-ish years ago, and started streaming myself a year ago, and so that's much newer, but I've been playing D&D the longest, surprisingly, and that was when I was about 13, so it would have been 2013, because I am a baby. I am so sorry, listeners. I know I immediately makes people cringe every time I say that. But, generally, I expect myself to be the youngest person in the room of most of the rooms that I'm in, a lot of the time. I know that'll change one day, but for now, I know that I'm usually baby. But, yes, so it was D&D, and then literally, like, I think a month after that, it was cosplay. And then I would say maybe 3 or 4 years after that, it was LARP. And the way that I found LARP was through friends, as many people are brought into LARP, because jumping into any LARP, having no connections to the game, like no friends, no nothing, it can be very overwhelming, because, usually the rule books are pretty thick, and it's a very different system than D&D, because it's all, it has to be practical, because you're doing things. Instead of just saying you hit the sword, you actually have to hit the sword kind of well. You have to learn how to fight, which is very different than real fighting, obviously, but you have to learn how the meta of LARPing. And then once you start learning the systems, then it gets a little bit easier to introduce yourself to new LARPs, but each of them are usually pretty different. The magic systems all vary slightly, the combat system very slightly, especially depending on the kind of LARP that you go to. It's all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I started, I think, around 2014 or 2015. So that's when I started LARPing, and I full-heartedly believe that people that are on the edge of burnout, especially in the TTRPG community, they need to go LARP. They need to be off the internet for a weekend, and they need to go LARP, because LARPing is the last bastion of creators and just people creating for the sake of creating, and creating for their community and creating for their friends, and just doing it for the love of the game. And it's a really beautiful, beautiful time. It's storytelling at its finest. It's a theater kid's dream. And as a cosplayer, obviously I love all the costuming elements and those kinds of things. But it truly is just a community of people creating for the sake of creating.
I love that. Because... yeah. Have you done any LARPing that's not, like, medieval?
Yeah. My first LARP was actually a post-APOC game.
Ooh.
And I was not super fond of that setting, because that specific LARP that I did was kind of a mishmash of a lot of things, and there was a story reason for that, but I didn't super buy in. I wanted, like, to live my Mad Max dreams, but then you'd have other people in, like, complete medieval stuff. So I wasn't super fond of that setting, and I didn't do that LARP for too long. I'm doing a high fantasy LARP right now, and I definitely mesh better with that than I mesh better with more modern day stuff, but I really have my eye on a lot of different Vampire the Masquerade LARPs that I want to do so bad. So bad.
I've been wanting to do Vampire the Masquerade LARPing for a while, and I'm just like, I don't know. I don't. Maybe I. I also have to learn how to. Again, it's a system that you have to like kind of learn, and then I think I read you have to get approved by the prince or whatever, the regent in that area. So you're like, oh, I have to get this. I have to like go through the whole. I can't just create a character. I have to get this approved.
In any LARP, there's the reason that is because you don't want people coming in with main character syndrome, going, you know, I have a sword that actually can kill all of you because I said so. And that's why, generally, in order to actually start role-playing your backstory and to have a lot of that kind of stuff come into effect and have that be at all involved in the actual canon, you have to get it approved on any LARP. At any good LARP, you're going to have to get your backstory approved. And it's literally, it's not hard, usually. At any good LARP, it's not going to be hard. You'll email staff, you email whatever, and you go, hey, this is what I want to do, and they usually respond, cool. Or they'll make suggestions on changes, or, you know, whatever. I've never had an issue with getting my backstory approved at any LARP because it is quite literally just, hey, this is what I'm thinking, and then they make sure that it's in line with what story and what, you know, what lore they already have set up.
Taking notes for later.
Happy to help. LARP, as I said, LARP is really intimidating to join your first time. I've brought in many of people since I was christened into the LARP community, and it's a lot easier having a friend bring you in. It is so much easier, but if you don't have that, it is still possible, and you're still able to do that. It's just about joining the Discord or the community or whatever and asking the right people and the right questions.
Nice.
But I've never met a community that isn't like, oh, let me help immediately.
Yes. So you're one of many in the Castleton crew.
So many. There's like, what, 120 something, I think?
Jeez Louise. Every time I hear the number, I'm like, good Lord. As a DM, I'm just like,
I'm tired for
AJ.
Know.
Yeah. I'm like, my brain hurts after like 5. I had to DM a child, and I was just like, never again. Never again.
Yeah.
I was like, no. But yeah, what has it been like being part of such a huge story like that? And it's not just like a storyline, it's so complex.
Yeah, it is a really complex story. Truthfully, I don't keep up with it, like, basically at all. And every time we jump into a recording, AJ will be like, hey, here's the rundown of what's happened recently, because she doesn't expect any of the people to be like completely up to date on all the information, and some people really are. Like, there's a wonderful community that is in every episode and wants to keep up with the story and have an idea of what's going on. But I actually kind of enjoyed it, especially for who my character is in Castleton, being a little bit more disconnected, because my character is more disconnected. And while I think I'm pretty okay with not metagaming, I still sometimes like to just not even give myself the option to metagame. And so, yeah, I didn't want to know more than what my character would know, you know? And I've had a blast with it. It's been great. You know, AJ's been hellishly busy, and she still was in our Vampire the Masquerade season 2. And I've had a great time with that, and she knows that, you know, I've been crazy busy with everything. And so, you know, it's fun to kind of take a break from whatever you're doing in your world and in your life, and then just go join a friend's game and be in their world and in their hands. And so it's been really fun. It's been a really good escape here and there, because usually we've always had to fit in recordings and wherever we could, you know.
That's amazing. I can't wait, because I'm watching parts of the finale, and I'm like, good Lord. Yeah. It's just so much.
It is so much, and we've had a couple of scenes cut here and there, you know? She cuts scenes that don't fit in with the larger narrative, which you have to do when you have that many players playing and you have that much going on. Not everyone is going to make character choices that make even any realm of sense towards the story that's already been set up. And so I've had some scenes cut. I've had some things not make it to air. or make it into kind of the sub-series episodes of like the dating and the whatever episodes. And that's okay. I don't hold any ill will for that, because it's, like I said, it's, you know, she has to kind of curate some of the story, especially when she gets hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of content. So it's been interesting to see what makes it and what doesn't, because, you know, it's always like, oh, okay, so the thing that I did here made sense for the plot, but maybe the other thing that was from left field, because you know, with D&D it's a sandbox, you can go in any direction, and she generally lets people go in any direction, but that doesn't always mean it's the good direction.
Yeah, it's not good for the overall plot line
when you have that many people.
That many people. Something. Yeah, you're like those would be like days on end shows.
Yeah.
You can't really do
if
that.
If you want to have any overarching actual like character arcs or plot, there's too many people going in too many directions. You have to. I think what she's doing is so innovative and difficult and cool, and it's created such a really cool community around it. Mm-hmm. Like, I think she's doing great.
So, speaking of which, so you said about like 2 years ago you got into streaming TTRPGs.
Yeah.
What was that? What was that push?
I did a game called Roleplay Relay. The very first one, in which the playmat, my husband, was the DM, and I met some really, really amazing people through that. The crew that we were part of called Night Crew, because it was a crazy production that we went on for 12 hours a day, and we got tattoos. We got matching tattoos. Since, you know, we did basically like 80 or 90 hours of streaming in a week, and went from level 1 to level 20 in a week. And so, you know, we had a whole campaign in 1 week. We literally were speed running a campaign. And yeah, that was the first like fling into the scene. And then through that, then I started doing one shots. We did Vampire the Masquerade. I've been on No Man's channel. I've been on Sarah's table on the Gen Con TV. I've been on a bunch of different things, and you know, just through meeting people through Matt and meeting people through the community, and going to PAXs and things and meeting more people, and then also being on TikTok and meeting people through there. Like, it kind of got, you know, catapulted into starting that. And then I unfortunately do have the mark of Gabe. I won't go into that more, but that was also unfortunately a huge proponent of me meeting a lot of the community, and that was a really hard time. But, you know, I feel very blessed that I've made some really good friends through it and have made the best of the situation. So that's kind of how I got into the TTRPG world online, because I've been playing my home game right now. We're about to hit 5 years.
That is amazing.
Yeah,
5
we're actually about to
years?
end. We're getting really close to the end.
Are you playing as a player? Or are you a DM or player?
Yeah, I just started DMing. For Thoughts and Players, it is my first DMing like experience.
Holy crap.
My very first game, my roommate and best friend and Matt were in, and then I did a game called Ren Fair Regicide with like Maisie Linney and Jocks the Whipper and Critical Bard, and you know, Mega's rad, and Golden Arrow was in that game. That was a really good game. And then after I had a couple of games under my belt, I immediately brought Thoughts and Players to life. And so I'm about to DM my, 5th game, I think, ever? But yeah, my home game is, I'm a player. I'm an arcane trickster rogue. Super fun.
I'd love to see it. What's the feel of the home game? What's the campaign? Is it a campaign setting? Is it like...
It's Eberron setting, which out of all of the ones that D&D actually offers officially, it's the best one. Like, not like Critical Role adjacent, not like going into some
third
of the
party
other
content,
like lore. Yeah, It's the best one. Eberron is so fun. I have so much fun in the Eberron setting. I also have lightly placed most of my games in Eberron, because Thoughts and Players aren't... It's a little interesting because it's kind of fantasy, but I also try to modernize it slightly so that people that have never played D&D before don't feel so lost and can make, references and make jokes and things that feel more comfortable to them. And so it's like very light Eberron setting, but barely. And I love the Eberron setting. I think the Warforged and the Dragonmarked houses and all those things, it's really fun. It's fun lore.
I love that. That's so great. Like, the fact that you have a 5-year game at home, and it's just like, I just get to enjoy it. Do y'all have anything planned next, or are y'all like, we gotta take a break?
No, I think after...
Is somebody gonna pick up somebody else gonna pick up the mantle of DMing?
Our DM, Lee, he's phenomenal. He runs a couple of other games as well, and he really loves DMing. And so because I am now doing D&D stuff online, I probably am not going to continue to having a home game for a while, unfortunately. Mostly just due to time. We play usually every other Friday, and it's just starting to become really hard to schedule. Like, that group has gone through a lot, like in our real lives. Ending of relationships, parental death, like hard, heavy shit. The players in that crew have been through, and we all, we've D&D'd through it together, and so there have been times when we've been able to do games more frequently, and there have been times when, we don't get to play for a month and a half because of just scheduling. And I don't think I'm going to be able to do another home game for a while because, Matt and I really want to get more long-term stuff put online. We want to do, and pretty soon we want to start an actual series for a D&D game, run in his world. And after that, who knows? But we really want to get our studio and get things started for that and get that on get that show on the road, essentially, before we can really enjoy D&D for the sake of enjoying D&D again.
No, that makes sense. Like, you're like, I gotta prep a lot of stuff before I can actually sit back, enjoy the fruits of my labor, and just kind of not cruise control it. Oh gosh, yeah.
It was rough, it was long, it was expensive, and now we just, he and I want to work, essentially. We want to work, we want to get our lives started together, and we want to continue to grow as creators and as people. So that's kind of the biggest goal right now.
Yeah. So, speaking of Thoughts and Players, you had a wonderful cast. You and your wonderful cast raised over $1,000 for the Southern California Fire Fund. How did Thoughts and Players all come about?
So, unfortunately, I think in other content creator spaces, sex work can really be judged harshly, and it makes people think that anything that you are doing is performative and all a part of the brand, or like it's the like you don't really play video games, like that kind of vibe. But it is deeper under the surface because internalized misogyny and sexism are sometimes things that are hard to point out to people who are liberal, who are left, because they don't think that they are, but they are. It's the same kind of vein of experiencing for, Black people and people of color who experience racism from the left and from left-leaning folks who don't think they are, but still have microaggressions and things that, they experience all the time in these communities. And so, in the same vein, some of my worst offenders of people who have judged me for sex work have been women, because they think they're better than sex workers. They look down upon it. They have a lot of internalized whatever feelings about it. And I've experienced that in the cosplay community. I've experienced it in the TTRPG community. And I've experienced it online of just people thinking that because I do sex work, that any of my other passions and loves are either performative or they are lesser than. And so I created Thoughts and Players out of a love of D&D and a love and appreciation of the fact that sex workers are some of the most brilliant, funniest people I know. And I wanted to create a game for them, and I wanted to bring them into D&D and show them, for some of them, for their first time, show them D&D and show them roleplay and show them how cool it is. And so it's out of a love and respect of both, I think. And I've had the great pleasure of introducing some of the most talented people I know to D&D for their first time.
I guess how does that work out? I guess you can just ask your friends and be like, hey, like, I have this idea. Do you want to essentially collab?
Yeah.
In a way. And we were talking about this before the camera was rolling. You were like, I've done so many collabs and I'm going to do more. And I'm like,
yes.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah. Essentially, this would be a collab. Yeah. I mean, anytime you make content with other people, it's collabing. Yeah, it's a collaboration because you have to match energy. How did you approach your friends and be like, hey, I know we usually do this if we make content together. Would you want to just like roll some dice and make believe?
Sort of. So my first game of Thoughts and Players was last year, actually. I think either back in November or September. Basically, or no, before that. I'm trying to remember all the timelines of things. We put on so many games that it's hard to keep track of everything. My first game had a really, really rad cast, and it was mostly just close friends of people that I already knew, because, that's what you sometimes stick with when you're doing a new thing. And so I asked Claris, who was one half of Roleplay Relay, to be in the game. I had Stella Chu, I had Bucket Brown, some other cosplayers, and people that I really love. I had a couple other people. I had Oddfell in that game, I believe, and I also had Kimpatsu in that game. And it was Kimpatsu's first ever D&D game. It was Bucket's maybe second or third. Matt and I ran a D&D game for them and their partner, so that they wouldn't be so like, they're, on stream. That game was really fun, but it was also really overstimulating because, DMing is already a really hard thing to do. It's keeping a lot of pieces in place and, moving a lot of things at once, and then you add streaming onto that. And it's, I've only ever streamed games that I have DM'd and so I, kind of jumped into the deep end, essentially, of DMing. And it's still, I'm nowhere near at the level that I want to be as a DM that I am as a player. Because as a player, I feel very comfortable. I feel very seated in my capability. Whereas, I feel like I can't even, speak normally when I'm DMing. Because, my brain is just everything, it's that SpongeBob scene where everyone's in his brain, is everything's on fire and everyone's running around trying to get stuff done. That's my brain while I'm DMing. But, no, I just asked them, and that game was great. And then, after I kind of had that game done, I did put out a couple of casting calls because obviously inclusion and trying to reach more people than just friends that I know was really important to me. And I had a couple of really, really rad people interested in that game. And so, and then unfortunately we had to reschedule because of the California fires. And I was like, this is the perfect opportunity to turn it into a charity game. And all the players were down. But I think the hardest part about Thoughts and Players is the fact that some of these people are very used to being their own boss and not really having deadlines and kind of doing things when they want. And so the amount of cancellations, especially last minute cancellations or scheduling issues that I've had, is exponentially higher than I've had for anything else. And so having to reschedule last minute or having to recast or having people just kind of drop or whatever, I've had a bunch of that throughout all of my games. that's been a little stressful. And it makes it hard to want to continue DMing when people, they're doing you a favor, because a lot of us in the TTRPG community are not of the ability to pay our players quite yet. I would love to. That's like my goal in life, is to be able to just pay my friends to make cool art. But I recognize that people are doing me a favor, but I also somewhat expect just at least, minimal communication and that kind of thing. And so I don't have ill will or hold negative feelings towards those people. It's just an amount of pivoting and realizing, okay, if that person wasn't really that interested or invested, I think sometimes people agree to stuff, and I am being guilty of this. They agree to stuff because, oh my god, so much validation and so much fun, and it sounds so fun, and then you get to the point where you actually have to do the thing, put in work, and show up, and people realize that, oh, I've maybe overcommitted myself, or this is a little bit more intimidating than I expected, that kind of thing. And so, no judgment, but I think that's what happens sometimes. So that's the hardest part of Thoughts.
I guess the question is, after that, how do I want to phrase this? How do you want to tell those players, like, hey, it's okay if you feel overwhelmed. It's okay. D&D, TTRPGs are overwhelming sometimes. Like, it's okay to feel overwhelmed. It's okay to ask questions. Yeah. And I think because I going back to the stigma of just sex work and being in this industry, you have to be your own boss. You have to rely on yourself and not rely on others. Like, how do you, I guess, approach that and be like, hey, this isn't the same thing that you're used to. Yeah. This is, for better or worse, like, we're a community. Lean on me. It's okay. Yeah. Welcome to the TTRPG community. We try to, teamwork. This is a collaborative situation.
Yeah. Well, first of all, one of the things that's most important in professional setting, and also in home games, I think everyone should be doing lines and veils, or at least some sort of safety check-in, and I always do a safety check-in with my players, and I explain what it is as well to some of them, because, not all of them have ever done anything like this. And so immediately for any game, I'm always going to do safety check-ins and things, and just tell people, like, hey, if there's, for me, the one that I use in all of my games is nausea and throwing up. It's not a hard no, but it is definitely kind of a veil for me, where it's like, hey, would you just move past this quickly, please, and don't get too detailed, because I have a huge fear of nausea and throwing up. And so that's like one of those easy ones where it's just like, hey, no thank you. That's not going to have, like, I'm not going to have fun. Like, that's going to take me out of it. And so I want to, avoid things that will take people out of it. And also, in that, like, little meeting before we go live, and in, talking about what the game is like to people if they have questions, we have lots of little cheat sheets, essentially, for the new players of, like, here's kind of what you need to know. I also will help them build their characters if need be. And I have Matt helping me produce the shows, so he's in chat when they have questions, and they can ask him questions while the game is running, like if they're, waiting for their turn and they're like, I don't know how my Eldritch Blast works. How do I do this? How do I run this? They can be asking him questions and help me kind of keep the game running while everything is going on. And on top of that, I also really emphasize that, like, hey, I know you're really putting yourself in a vulnerable spot by not being good at something, because DMing makes me feel vulnerable as hell. I'm not great at it yet. I don't think of myself as a great DM. I think of myself as a new DM, and that's okay. It is okay to be new at something, but, in a super neurodivergent community, it's real hard to be bad at the thing, to be bad and kind of suck at something before you're good at it, especially if you're putting it online. And I know that many people who are very lovely would yell at me for being harsh on myself, but I really don't think I'm being harsh. I think I'm just being realistic about the fact that I'm a new DM, and so I'm going to make new DM mistakes. And I tell them that. I tell my players, I'm a new DM. I'm not great at this. And if you have questions, I promise you that you're not going to ask a question that's stupid. I also emphasize how much jargon there is with D&D, and that, like, when I was getting into video games and people were explaining, like, video games, or if they're explaining a new system to me, there's a lot of, like, blah, 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 blah. Like, it sounds like the adults in Charlie Brown, you know, just want. It's trying to explain someone that's never heard of AC or of critical misses and hits and all of the terms and things that we are known like the back of our hand, like a second language to us. You know, it's put the doohickey in the thing, and then once you roll the die, and then once you finish that, you can check your accounting privileges, and like just you go into all this weird, like, to us we're like, yeah, this makes perfect sense, and to someone that's never played before, they're like, I'm sorry, repeat again. And so yeah, I just emphasize that I'm very thankful that they're willing to put themselves out there, and that no question is bad, and you know that both me and Matt are there to help. And you know, it's not about doing it perfectly. It's about having fun, and as long as they have fun, that's my entire main goal. Yeah, that's everything to me. I also one of the quickest things I tell them is just tell me what you want to do. Think outside the box, have fun with it. I will tell you how to roll. I will help you along the way. You don't have to feel like you need to know everything yourself, because that's what me and Matt are there for.
That's awesome. I think having that open communication with your players, whether it be for a streamed game, for somebody's first game, or just a home game, is so important. Yeah. And especially for streamed content, especially for streamed games, you have to have a certain level of communication, because one, you might have somebody who's new at your table, but you might also have somebody new at the game in the audience who is coming over because they're a fan of this person's content in general, and they're like
a lot.
Yeah, and so you're just like, oh yeah, for the studio audience, this is, and it kind of takes that like onus of like, oh, I didn't know this thing off of them, and places it as a general, like, hey, above board explaining like how something works, as opposed to be like, I just cast, fireball. Okay, well, fireball does, this, and that means you'll roll this.
Matt has an encyclopedic memory of all the spells and everything, how everything intersects with everything, and I do not. I've never even read any of the books. Genuinely. I have never held one of those books in my hand except for more than a couple of seconds, probably to hand one to Matt. That's not true. I opened the book maybe once during Roleplay Relay because I needed to figure out how a spell worked or something. But for the most part, I do not have anything memorized, and I have been absolutely spoiled by D&D Beyond and using the internet and that kind of stuff. And so Matt helps me build monsters and things for the fights, and he'll put all these cool spells, and I will recognize every single one of those spells, but can I tell you what each of them does off of the top of my brain? Absolutely the fuck not. And so I have to look them up, and I have to figure out what things do, and if players have questions about how their stuff works, I don't always remember off the top of my head how it works. I have to go look at their character sheet, or I have to go look at how things work so I can explain it to them. Because if I'm looking at the rules and if I'm looking at the descriptions, I can explain things very well. But the problem is I don't have it all memorized in the same way. And I think that's one of the things that mechanically that separates new DMs from experienced DMs, is experienced DMs can explain things to you much faster and without looking at a cheat sheet, essentially. And so that's one of the hardest things, I think, for me right now, is just not getting overwhelmed and feeling self-conscious about that fact. Because I know as I continue to work on it, it will come with time. But, turns out you don't become a pro GM in less than 5 games. Who knew?
Yeah, I've been DMing just this year will be 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
I've been since 2021, and I'm just like, I don't fucking know.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Google is for. That's what D&D be. People
also,
are like,
that's why Matt does coaching, is because he's like, there's a lot of people that have some skills or are newer to this that want to be at the same level as, you know, all of our favorite GMs that we all swoon over. However, to get there is not always as simple as just learning the mechanics or even having a story that you want to tell. You know, there's a lot of things that make a great DM a great DM, and I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet, and I don't think I'm going to be there for a long time, and that is okay.
That is okay, because you don't have to be perfect at everything. As long as you're.
How dare you?
I know.
I
Sorry, everyone.
Perfect.
Sorry,
I have
everyone.
To be perfect at this thing. You're allowed to not be perfect at the thing. But me, no. I have to be perfect.
I have to be perfect. Yeah, no, I have the same. Here's the thing. I say this to everyone. I'm like, yeah, you don't have to be perfect at this thing. And then internally, I'm like, fuck.
Rules for thee, not for me.
Exactly. Listen to what I'm saying. Don't pay attention to what I'm doing. Don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain. We don't know who she is.
Running online games as a new DM has been incredibly humbling. Humbling.
My first campaign, my first like long-term campaign was online, and I was like, I don't know, why did I do this to myself? Why did I decide to do this? Okay. Yeah. But I think having that ability to record it and then look back at where you started and now, like, a couple, you know, in a few years you'll be like, look how far I've come.
Yeah. And
you have, like, I say physical, but you have digital proof of like how far you've come.
Yeah. That's definitely one of those things. I mean, I do that with cosplay a lot, where I'll look back at cosplays from 5-10 years ago and I go, wow, oh my god, I've improved so much since then. And so there's just a similar equivalent of looking at your progress. I've had multiple people be like, you should make a reel, like you need to make like a player reel and a DM reel. And I'm like, guys, I don't feel like I've done anything on the internet that's worth a reel yet. Genuinely. I know that I've done some cool stuff, but I don't know. I'm so much of a perfectionist, and I think I also just really want, I don't know. I think I'm just waiting. I'm waiting to be proud of something. One of the things I say on my Twitch streams and in my community a lot is that while I very much love sex work and I love what I do, I really do, I want to create a campaign and I want to create content that people can identify with, and that people, you know, just, I want to create someone's comfort character. I want to create someone's, like, you know, something that helped them, or, because that's my main goal, is to make people smile and to, you know, entertain people. As we're all entertainers. We want to people please, you know. We want people to enjoy the content. We want them to think about, we want to provoke thoughts and opinions and emotion, and I think I want to find and make content that I'm super, super proud of in that way, because while I'm proud of my cosplays, I am proud of, you know, the things that I do. I don't think I've created anything that is worth being memorable. And that's probably me being really harsh on myself, but I just don't think I've done anything that is worth, like, memory. And so I want to create something that is worth it. That I will be remembered by, you know, in 10 years, 20 years.
I dig it. So there are more Thoughts and Players coming soon. Yeah. Who's going to be at that table?
Oh my goodness. Aylin Blue, Exo Cinnabon, Harley Kane, and Overlayer B are my next 4 initiates. Some of those players are way more experienced in D&D, and I'm super excited to play for some people that know a little bit more about what they're doing. But, you know, I still have some newbies at that table, so it'll be fun.
Is it going to be for charity? Are there going to be other versions of Thoughts and Players that are going to be for charity? Or
This Thoughts is not. However, I am gonna try and put one on in March because I'm turning 25, and I was thinking about doing one for the Red Umbrella Fund, which is a sex work charity specifically, and I think that would be really fun. So hopefully, yes, more charity games soon. But this one will not be. I don't even know if I don't think I'm doing any redeems for this one, period. So this is just for funsies.
Hell yeah. Any live Thoughts and Players coming soon? Like at a con near you?
God, I wish. That would be fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
One day. I don't think I'm good enough to like submit for panels and that kind of thing yet. I think there's a lot of things I can talk about being a player, and I think I have worth as a player. I don't think I would, like, I've seen lots of, like funds and stuff that you can apply for, and both Matt and I have been like, yeah, we would love to apply for some help and some grants and some things, but we both are like, we want to do a longer series, and we want to put some content out together and do some things that, like, we are very proud of, that makes us feel like we are worthy of even, guesting and doing panels and that kind of thing.
Amazing. Well, I would totally go see a Thoughts and Players live. I'm just saying.
Thank you.
If it happened at Gen Con, PAX Unplugged, any PAX, I'd be like, okay, let's go. All right.
I think it would be fun. I do think it's a possibility for the future, just maybe not this year.
Yeah. Like next year or whenever you feel comfortable doing it.
We will see. I mean, I think as we continue, we'll see what opportunities present themselves, because if I've learned anything as my like 5 to 8 years as a creator, you really have no idea what opportunities are going to present themselves to you over your career and over your time, and almost always the opportunities that come are going to be unexpected and poorly timed, and so it's going to create just all kinds of nonsense,
Yeah.
So I try to leave things somewhat open to being ready for just random shit to happen, because it does all the time, where unexpected invitations and things will just be like, hey, you want to do this thing? And you're like, I have 3 photo shoots and 2 games coming up, but this is a crazy opportunity and I can't say no. That kind of stuff where, you're just like, all right, I guess I'm going to fuck my schedule for the next month.
Hooray! Well. On that note, plug your shit!
Oh my god, I have Thoughts and Players coming up this Friday, but I have no idea when this episode is
Monday.
Out. Monday, so I'll have just done a Thoughts and Players, but I will be having more, so if you want to come check out my Twitch, I stream Sundays and Thursdays normally. Gillian Foxglove everywhere, all the platforms. Buy my sex work photos, do whatever you want to do. Come get sexy with me. I don't know.
Hell yeah.
Things. I don't usually get to plug the sex work content because we
do
have
it.
To be like, because on Twitch and on like every other platform, we have to be like, I'm an accountant, and like, do all the stupid censorship. So it's weird to be like, hey, come look at my ass.
Hey, go check out my OnlyFans or Fansly. Hello.
Right,
Hi.
I'm so not used to actually being able
It's
to
okay.
say that.
Here's the thing. I love it because, one, as a burlesque performer, it's one of those things. It's like, yeah, I take my clothes off on stage. Come see. Like, you want to see.
Every sex worker I know has different philosophies for people, their communities and people interacting with their sex work and with their like safe for work stuff. And as long as people are respectful, I don't give a shit what people like or what they don't like.
Oh, I've had to separate my Facebooks at one point. I was just like, I have 2 separate
Most of my
Facebooks.
family is blocked. I'm very fortunate that my family, most of my close, like my actual family, not like all the relatives, but my close family all know what I do, and I don't have to hide shit, which is great, because I feel very bad for the people that do, because it's hard to live that kind of separate life, and it almost always never works. And so it's nice to be able to be proud of what I do. And my parents, surprisingly, are very proud of what I do. They love the fact that I'm a cosplayer. They ignore the sex work, as they should. They're parents. But they are still very supportive of me. And that is gold at doing what I do. And, yeah. So, that's mostly what I got coming up. Trying to think of anything coming off in the far, far future, because I have a lot of things coming up. I am going to be doing an honor mode run on my Twitch. This is the first time I've ever talked about this online. I'm going to be doing an honor mode BG3 run with Jocks the Whipper on my Twitch. And we're going to be switching off whose channel we stream on. And we're going to be doing lots of stupid stuff, because that man is basically my brother.
Love that. Oh yeah, you make his pants.
I do. I do. I make his pants. He's a very good friend of mine. I actually just asked him to officiate my wedding, and he said yes if he is free. So, which is crazy, because that man is crazy busy. But
he's so busy.
He is delightful. He and I definitely have big sibling rivalry energy all the time, and he and his wife are lovely. But yeah, we're gonna be doing that, and I have a book club coming up pretty soon. I haven't set the exact date, but we're gonna be reading through the Percy Jackson series, because I found out that Matt's never read them. I haven't read them in many years, so I think it's gonna be fun to read them as an adult, and it's super nostalgic for literally everyone. So we're gonna start up a little series for that. And also, once Tusk Love drops from Critical Role, we're doing a series on that, I think, as well. We're gonna read it for a book club. It'll be fun.
Hell yeah.
Just reading smut with the fandom, you know.
Yeah. Well, with all that being said, make sure you follow Gillian Foxglove everywhere on the internet. All the links are going to be down in the show notes. Speaking of finding me elsewhere on the internet, you can find me everywhere on the internet at Shelly Von Miller. Include on Patreon and Fourth Wall, where you get early access to these wonderful interviews for After the Table, as well as my other content. Yeah, and get ready with me and whatever the fuck else. I don't know. With that being said, I love you guys, and I will see you on the internet. Goodbye!